Only 2,500 people on Earth wear this badge. They hike straight toward the flames with 45 pounds of gear strapped to their backs, dig fire lines through mountains for 16 hours straight, and sleep in the ash while the forest burns around them. The training washout rate tops 40%, and most won't last 3 seasons before their knees, their marriages, or their minds give out. This is every level of a hotshot wildland firefighter's career, and it begins long before the first flame ever touches the sky. Wyatt Holleran was 19 years old the first time he held a Pulaski, that strange hybrid of axe and hoe that has barely changed in 100 years, and he had no idea that the tool in his hands would define the next 2 decades of his life. He started where almost everyone starts, as a Type 2 wildland firefighter on a fuels crew out of a small district office in eastern Oregon, earning $15.78 an hour with no benefits, no guarantee of hours past October, and a government truck that smelled permanently of diesel and sweat. The first level is the proving ground, the place where the romantic idea of fighting fire dies and the real job reveals itself, which is mostly digging. Digging line, digging stumps, digging cat holes in the woods at 3 a.m. when the burrito from the fire camp catering truck finally catches up to you. He learned to read smoke columns, to recognize the difference between a backing fire and a head fire, to never turn his back on a snag, and to drink 4 liters of water a day without ever needing to sit down. His first season grossed him $24,000, and he spent the winter working at a tire shop in his hometown waiting for the callback, because in this world, you don't have a career yet, you have a hiring list and a prayer. The second level came at 21, when he tested onto a Type 1 initial attack module, the kind of crew that gets helicoptered into ignitions before they reach 10 acres, the kind that sleeps with their boots on. The pack test became scripture: 3 miles, 45 pounds, 45 minutes, and if you couldn't do it, you weren't coming back. Pay climbed to about $18.50 an hour with hazard, and the experience he earned, the hard-won kind that hiring bosses can smell on a resume, started to open doors. He took a SAW certification, then an advanced Sawyer evaluation, then his red card qualifications stacked up one by one like poker chips. By the end of that second season, with overtime and a 14-day assignment in California that turned into 21, his W-2 hit $38,000, and for the first time, he started to believe this might actually be a life. The third level is the one that breaks people. At 23, Wyatt got the call he'd been waiting 2 years for, an offer from a Type 1 interagency hotshot crew based out of the Bitterroot in Montana, one of only 113 such crews in the entire country, totaling around 2,500 firefighters nationwide. Rookie season on a hotshot crew is 6 weeks of training that doesn't end when training ends, because the work itself is the training. Daily PT at 6 a.m., long runs at altitude, hose lays uphill, hours on the chainsaw with the bar dipped in dirt to simulate fatigue, classroom hours on fire behavior, weather, and the 10 standard firefighting orders that every hotshot can recite in their sleep. Base pay sat around $20.42 an hour, but with hazard pay kicking in on the fire line, time and a half overtime past 40 hours, and assignments that ran 14 days on, 2 days off, then right back out, his season grossed $58,000. He didn't see a real bed for 4 months. He didn't see his girlfriend for 5. He came home that October down 22 pounds, with hands that looked like topographic maps and a 1,000-yard stare that took until Christmas to fade. The fourth level is where the body changes. As an experienced hotshot in his second, third, and fourth seasons on the crew, Wyatt became part of the machine, the kind of firefighter who could swing a Pulaski for 8 hours, eat a cold MRE, and then run a saw for 6 more without complaint. The work stops being shocking and starts being rhythmic. You learn to sharpen your own tools to a razor's edge with a mill bastard file. You learn to patch your own whites boots with shoe goo and dental floss because nobody makes them the way they used to. You learn the specific physics of digging line through manzanita, through duff, through decomposed granite, and you learn that the difference between a good line and a bad line is measured in houses saved or houses lost. Pay climbed to roughly $72,000 in a normal fire year, and in the brutal seasons, the ones where the West burned from May to December, he cleared $89,000 with overtime and hazard, money he barely had time to spend. He started buying land. He started reading books in the buggy on the drive between fires. He started understanding that he was good at this, that he had become one of the people other people watched on the line. The fifth level is the first time leadership lands on your shoulders. At 28, Wyatt was promoted to squad boss, leading 6 firefighters through terrain that maps couldn't be trusted to describe, making real-time decisions about escape routes and safety zones while the radio crackled with weather updates that could kill everyone in his squad within 20 minutes. The pay jumped to $82,000, but the weight wasn't financial. It was the look his rookies gave him when the wind shifted, the way they waited for his call, the knowledge that one bad decision could end up in a fatality report read out loud at the next year's fire refresher. He learned to suppress his own fear so it didn't bleed into the squad. He learned to make calls fast and stand by them even when they were wrong, because indecision on a fire kills faster than bad decisions do. He started keeping a notebook of every fire he worked, every fuel type, every weather event, every close call, building the internal library that all great hotshots eventually carry inside their skulls. The sixth level is the captain, the second in command of the entire 20-person crew, the bridge between the superintendent's strategy and the squad boss's execution. Wyatt made captain at 32, pulling roughly $98,000 a year with locality and overtime, but his job was no longer mostly digging. It was logistics, training calendars, equipment orders, personnel issues, hiring panels, and the quiet, unglamorous psychology of keeping young firefighters alive through their first burnover drill and their first real shelter deployment scenario. He spent his winters on the road, recruiting at college campuses, running rookie tryouts, sitting on hiring boards for other crews, mentoring squad bosses who were trying to become captains themselves. He became, almost without noticing it, a teacher, and he discovered that he was good at that too, that the years on the line had given him stories that landed and lessons that stuck. The seventh level is the one almost nobody reaches. At 38, Wyatt was selected as superintendent of his own Hotshot crew, the top-of-the-line operational position in wildland fire. The Hotshot's Hotshot, the one who built the crew's reputation season after season and answered to no one on the fireground but God, the incident commander and the fire behavior analyst. Salary climbed to $128,000 with locality, hazard, and the special pay rules that finally, after decades of advocacy, started recognizing what these jobs actually demand. But the superintendent is also the firewall. Every accident on the crew is the super's accident. Every funeral, if one ever comes, is the super's funeral to attend in dress uniform with a folded flag in his arms. Wyatt's first season as superintendent took him to 19 different fires across 7 states, and he watched the climate change in real time. Watched fire seasons that used to end in September stretch through Thanksgiving. Watched fuel moistures hit numbers his mentors had never seen. Watched a job that had always been hard become something closer to impossible. The eighth and final level is the transition out, the move into fire management officer or Type 1 incident commander work, running entire complexes with 1,000-person rosters and budgets that touch 9 figures, deciding which towns get defended and which get written off, salaries reaching $180,000 to $210,000 with the right grade and locality. Some hotshots make this jump in their 40s, some never do, choosing to stay on the line until their bodies finally refuse, retiring as superintendents with 30 fire seasons in the rear view and a pension that pays for the land they bought during all those overtime years. But here is the truth almost nobody tells you about this career, the one that doesn't make the recruiting videos. Most federal wildland firefighters, including the majority of hotshots, are seasonal employees. 6 months on, 6 months off. No health insurance from November through April unless they buy it themselves. No guarantee that the next season will be funded the way the last one was. They chase unemployment through the winter, stack side gigs as arborists and contractors and ski patrollers, and watch friends in other industries pass them in lifetime earnings, even though those friends have never once carried an unconscious Sawyer down a mountain in the dark. The pay reforms of recent years have helped, raising base wages and creating permanent positions, but the structure of the job, the toll on the body, the strain on relationships, the PTSD rates that nobody on the agency side likes to talk about, all of that remains. Wyatt Holleran is 41 now. He still hikes toward the smoke with the same Pulaski he carried at 19. The handle worn smooth by 2 decades of hands. The head sharpened so many times that it's noticeably smaller than the day he bought it. He has 2 children he sometimes feels he barely knows, a wife who learned years ago not to ask when he'll be home, and a body that aches in places he didn't know could ache. And yet, every spring, when the snow starts melting off the ridges and the first hiring calls go out for the new season, he laces up his whites, packs his line gear, and gets back in the buggy. Because once you've stood on a ridge at sunset and watched a 40,000-acre fire breathe like a living thing, watched it climb a slope at 15 miles an hour and crown out into a sky that doesn't look like a sky anymore, no office, no salary, no other version of a life will ever feel like enough. Only 2,500 people on Earth do this job, and every single one of them started exactly the same way, walking 3 miles in 45 minutes with 45 pounds on their back, just to earn the right to walk toward the fire that everyone else is running away from.